All right, all right. We had to get things going on the other side. More clicks, and here we go. Welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming to This and That. I'm your host, Sander, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. And today we're going to be talking about if gentlemen are the new alpha males. We got an interesting dynamic for this particular show because we have to first recognize that, the difference between previous behaviors of alpha males and the new modern day man is going to be heavily impacted on our current society. So before we get into this topic, I want to make sure that you guys like and subscribe. Make sure that you join the membership. Share this content with people that you know, people that you don't know, people that you think that might like the topic, people that you think that might have something to say against the topic. We encourage everyone to get involved and put their 2 cents in on the discussion. If you join a membership, you get discounts based on the tier of the membership that you join. So you'll be able to benefit from that as well. For those of you that are on TikTok, you're not going to see the membership store as of yet, or the merchant store as of yet, but we're still working on that. For those of you that are on Twitch, you see the merchant store in the bio and in the events section of our TikTok platform or our Twitch platform. And for those of you that are looking at us from YouTube, we actually have content scrolling across the bottom of the screen right now. And our merchant store is also being accessible from the main channel, as well as the other stores the other shows and videos and content that we upload. We also have some affiliate content, things that we recommend. You see random things that we have decided that would be a good look for the show. You would see that in the bottom left corner of the show. So if you are interested in some of the content that we have to offer or some of the content that we recommend, then you click the little link on the bottom left side if you're watching us from YouTube, and you'll be able to see that branded content, the branded merchandise, and you'll be able to buy all kinds of random things. I go through all of the merchandise, and I'm like, oh, I think the fans might like this, and then I put it up there for you. So enjoy that. While we're at it, if during the sake of the process of the show that you enjoy some of the stuff that we're talking about, then you guys can send us some super likes, some super emojis, some special thanks in the comments, and that will support the platform. Anything will do, $1 or whatever, to show support for the effort that we're putting into bringing you such quality content on a regular basis. And speaking of quality content on a regular basis, make note that we are live 7 days a week, 9 Eastern, 8 Central, 5 Pacific. We try our best to come on time as often as possible as we work out some of our technical difficulties. But, we're always here. There's never a time where we're not going to air before midnight. And I say that because there was this one time where I had some issues that prevented me from showing up for about 40 minutes. So wasn't on time, definitely that day, but didn't stop me from coming. Definitely made it. So I encourage you guys to do what you can to, come and drop in and see what topics that we have to offer on a regular basis. Also, if you take a look at our channel on the YouTube channel, we have content that is dispersed throughout the whole month of September as well. So you get a chance to take a look at some of the topics that we're going to be presenting coming soon and be a part of those. So I encourage you to try to swing over to the YouTube channel and take a look at some of the stuff that we are presenting coming up soon. Beyond that, yeah, let's get the show on the road. So pop my collar here. I don't like creases in the tie if I don't have to have them. So back in the day, alpha men used to be the men that were overly assertive, that were extremely dominating by force. And things have changed because now we have overly masculine women that have taken over the dating scene. So, oh, hold on a second, guys. We're missing. Those of you that are on YouTube, you are now missing your group from the TikTok channel. Oh, we gotta go to settings and try to get them up there. There we go. And they're here now. There we go. Now everybody's here. Good. So, like I was saying, back in the day, we had the guys that would just like push their ways in. And one more thing I forgot to say, always forget something no matter what we do. For you guys who are on YouTube and on Twitch, if you guys have something that you want to add, if you want to jump in and say something on the show, if you click the link down below in the comment section, then you guys will be able to jump into our green room, and we'll move you guys up to the main screen where you can be seen as well as heard in real time to participate in the podcast. Everyone else that's on TikTok, you guys can request to be brought on to the discussion. And you'll also be in a separate window till we integrate this whole thing. As you can see, we've got half of our followership in one window and the other half of our followership in the other window. It's just what it is. But if you're following us on TikTok, over here at the bottom right corner, if you click that subscription button, it will take you over to YouTube for you to subscribe to the channel. And then you can just come back over to TikTok and do what you got to do. But whenever you get a notification from YouTube that we're about to go live or that we've already gone live, you'll be able to rework your schedule and jump onto the show. Even if you jump on from TikTok or Twitter or Twitch or any other platform that you jump onto, you'll still get the notification from YouTube, because YouTube is diligent about giving you 30-minute notice that it's going to be airing pretty soon, and then giving you a notice that it has gone live. So I like advance notice. But back to the whole dominating situation. Now, because of the battle for dominance between the alpha women and the alpha men, the fact is that in the dating game, it is not a very cohesive situation. Now, the easiest way for men to have gone about changing that dynamic is by going in and working on the Sigma perspective, where men are able to come in and work their way around the alphas by getting what they're looking for, and then rejecting the things that they're not able to achieve with the people that they're engaging, because those people are not cooperative. So typically, being a gentleman does not necessarily require you to allow women to walk all over you, but that has been the behavior that women have been projecting in modern times. And it's not all women, it is just the ones that are making the dating scene excessively difficult. And since this is the issues that we're coming about dealing with as men, some of the more Sigma men are capable of bypassing this particular type of issue by navigating through the women that come off overly aggressive or non-cooperative, and then migrate themselves to women that are less masculine and able to maintain the feminine roles that require them to receive the feminine benefits. Because while women are multifaceted, they're capable of producing masculine traits when they are single women that are not looking for a mate. But when they're presenting those masculine traits in a relationship, in a committed relationship where the man is supposed to be expected to lead, then the woman should not be expecting themselves to lead the man unless they chose a man that they didn't want to lead them, which makes no sense. But that does happen. However, we're looking at the case that the men are now changing their dynamic from, I have to battle this woman in order to lead her, or surrender my authority as a man and allow her to dictate terms with my resources. Men have now shifted to a more Sigma approach that has become the more alpha perspective, is that you either get on my ship and we sail together, or you get off at the next stop. And that puts some of these women that are typically non-cooperative into a bit of a pickle, because now they have to choose that, if we're going to keep the dating game transactional, if men are going to boost their finances and resources in order to become worthy of the woman, then the men are setting this expectation, they're setting this bar that women are going to have to now start meeting the expectations of the men in order for the men to be able to accept these women after the men have become financially worthy. So once the men are now financially worthy, now the women have to become positionally worthy, because the women are not bringing wealth to the table. And that's some of the most interesting aspects that we have in this particular genre, is that the society has taught generation after generation that, you pay the cost to be the boss. So in order for you to be in charge, then you have to go and make money and be the person that runs things in the household. But as we've said before in previous shows, that this is not something that's supposed to be unilaterally taught between both the men and the women, because the men are going to instinctively be partners with the women, but the women are being taught to not instinctively partner with the men. So since the women are not instinctively being taught to be partners with the men, the women are learning from past generations of women that the next generation of women don't need a man and are not required to benefit from a man in any way. But the requirement for companionship, or the desire or the yearning for companionship, requires anyone to get that partnership from cooperation with the other person that they choose as a companion. Now, the new alpha males that are out there now, the gentlemen, the Sigma men that are able to treat women that are worthy with the chivalry that they deserve, whereas the women that are not worthy do not get the same treatment. Men are able to now determine that we're going to step back a little bit further, and we're going to hold ourselves to a higher regard, where we're going to balance the difference between what the women bring to the table versus what they get after they sit at the table. And women have started to object to this type of behavior and call men misogynistic, because the men are not just willfully giving away their resources because a woman is attractive. But when you ask women if they are wife material, some of these women clearly think that they are, just because they're attractive. But looking cute doesn't make you a wife. What makes you a wife is being a good partner, being a good helper, being able to fix the things that need to be fixed, and being able to do the things that are expected of you when you're told to do things that needs to be done, that the man has other obligations and doesn't have time to get done. The woman should be doing those things. Now, in a relationship where a woman really wants this particular man, she'll do whatever she wants he asks her to do, because she really wants that man. But when women are more content with the resources of the man, we're not necessarily going to see that particular type of behavior pattern. That behavior is actually not going to show up as readily. So we tend to see less often, we tend to see the women that are being interacted with by men, we're tending to see less of the men putting up that you know, random, just give them everything with nothing in return, and the expectations for chivalry is actually truly dying, specifically because back in the days, and we talked about this on the show before, back in the days that um, we had what, over 100 years ago, when women wasn't readily working, they didn't really have their own resources, and men would generously give and chivalrously give and do for those women because of gratitude for the woman's behavior back in those days. And nowadays, since women are able to get their own bag, they're not needing the men to be chivalrous. In fact, a lot of women are either taking advantage of the man's chivalry, or they're putting the man in a position where they're expecting the man to give with no expectations. And some women have taken the position of putting men in the friend zone. And then they have others that call men simps because men are willfully um, being considered too nice, where they are sharing their resources with the women that they find uh, relevant to them, even if the women are not actually valuable to them. And men do make this mistake where they are putting lust over love. And it is true that if a man lusts for a woman, he will go overboard to get that woman. But if you love somebody, it's not supposed to be that hard. It is not supposed to be that difficult. So it is not a situation where it's not supposed to be a situation where a man has to go for the chase to get the woman of his dreams. And that's the biggest misconception that women have observed over the years, is they're starting to notice that men are not even trying to chase as often as they used to. They show up now and they give you a yes or no, and if you don't give them a yes, or you take too long to give them a yes, they just walk away like, all right, moment passed. And it is up to you to decide. And if you don't decide, yes, I'll go, then you you miss that ride. Now, we've had a lot of fans come on the show, and we've had some that typically really cared about their girlfriends, and they ask us on the show, like, what do they do about the unruly behavior of their girlfriends? And they don't want to break up with their girlfriend because their girlfriend is not treating them the way they want their girlfriend to treat them. And those are not even coming off as Sigma men. These are more Delta men, more Beta men that are willing to put up with the demand for complacentness from the woman, but they don't know how to tell the woman that they're unhappy in their relationship. Now, we've had this debate in the comments of the channel quite a few times with some of the women that have come up and tried to advocate that the men are wrong, that the men are just sad and they're not happy with themselves. Well, men don't make themselves miserable. A single man that's by himself is not miserable. He actually has more peace because he doesn't have to deal with the chaos that is involved in getting into a relationship. Truth. The misery of men come from the sadness that is involved with the interactions and sometimes rejections from the women that they would prefer to be involved with. Women are going to say, well, suck it up. Yeah, that typically it's a very narcissistic behavior for people to have, to say that you'll deliberately make somebody feel bad and then tell them that that person should just deal with it because that's the way life is. Because once the shoe is on the other foot, the women have more often than not come back and say that they should not be treated the same way because they're women. And that's one of the things that we've talked about on the shows, is we ask people to make it make sense a lot of the times, because why is it that the non-uniform behavior, the non-equality behavior, the non-egalitarian behavior, where some people believe that in their social interactions that they should not have to get treated the same way that they expect other people to be treated in the exact same scenario. And with this particular type of dynamic, with these particular types of questions that are asked, we don't have too many women coming onto the show that are willing to admit that by um, being asked these types of questions, you're not actually answering them because it doesn't make sense. Like you don't know, and you don't have the correct answer to be able to say that yes, in certain circumstances, the ball should not be in my court. The favoritism should not be on my side. Typically, when we talk to women, the expectation is that the favoritism should always be in the woman's corner because those women believe that they're as women they should receive favoritism. And while this may not be all women, some women understand and recognize and even advocate that the men are not readily being treated correctly. The thing is that the adaptations of men have now led to the men changing in the current dating environment, which leads men to now say, well, instead of us uh, parading our resources around to go and pick the right woman, because you don't know who she is, you have to figure out what her name is, you have to figure out what her habits are, you have to find out if she even meets your expectations before you can even determine if you meet her expectations, because she's analyzing you, and if you don't have the finances that she's looking for, whether you want her or not, she's going to reject you. So that still comes to the plate, that if she doesn't mind the level of resources that you have or don't have, that now you still have to analyze and determine if she's the woman for you. Now, if she's not the woman for you, then you just spent all of this money on trying to find out. Each time a man does this, the woman is getting a free ride for the trial, and there's no refunds involved. And that is a poor business model, much less a poor dating model. Because if you're not worth it, and there's so many people that are walking away from the deal because they're financially investing in the trial, and the trial is unsuccessful, and the men are not happy with the product, then this is going to be a 30-year-old product that's going to be past its prime, and men are going to be walking around it instead of trying to engage it. And it is a very impressive position to be in, where we have those people that believe that the dynamic should be different, where men should just pay up. And we've had some clips on the show where some of the women that we're talking about, how men better take them out to steak dinner, and how men better buy them 3 or 4 or 5 steak dinners before they end up having physical interactions with one another. And we have determined that, let's be real, the prize is not supposed to be sex. The prize is supposed to be long-term companionship. When the prize is sex, then yeah, $50 at Red Lobster or Chili's or Bennigan's or something like that might be the thing. But when you start talking about, well, you've got to take me out on this many steak dinners, and these are steak dinners that you couldn't pay for by yourself. So men are now being told, hey, buddy, let's be straight up with this particular dynamic, that a man is on your level, because these women are testing the men. The women are testing the men's wallets, not testing the men's hearts, not testing the men's character. They're testing the men's wallets. And because they're testing the men's wallets, if the man can't afford to buy her steak or is unwilling to buy her steak, then he's not valuable to her financially. But the women are not judging the men's character or judging the men's hearts. So she is unable to determine if the man is going to truly care about her and treat her the way that she wants to be treated. Now, the change that you're going to see in that dynamic is the fact that men are deciding that because you judge a man by his character, not his wallet. If he keeps his wallet closed and you demand for him to open his wallet, then you're not genuine. And if a man is seeking a genuine woman, he's not going to go for the woman that wants him to spend money on her to show him, to show her what kind of man he is. Because if he is the kind of man that would frivolously spend money on her, he doesn't want to start frivolously spending money on her out the gate. He shouldn't. He should, for the most part, just do what he has to do and leave it to chance and try to figure things out. So we have some alpha men that have set a precedent and said, well, you know what, and we've had a lot of other men with the soft guy drizzle era coming out that have also set the same precedent, where we've said, well, the women are being so dominating to the fact that the responsibility should be on them. If you want to be the boss, you got to pay the cost. Still the same dynamic, still the same uniform expectations of the roles of the authoritarian figure. It's just that the roles are being taken by the women, the responsibilities being given to those women. And at the same time, the men are still sitting back saying, well, if you want to be in charge, you're going to have to pay for everything. So when we go somewhere, you're paying. You're putting gas in the car and everything. Now, while the women or a lot of the women are objecting to that, and they're saying that the men are behaving this way because the men are broke and the men can't afford it, we have to understand that men are going to bypass the confrontation, and we're going to set standards and we're going to set limitations. And we're going to say, well, if she can't afford it, then she can't go. Because a man that is on your level, and this is what I was about to say earlier today, a man that is on your level is able to provide for you the things that you can provide for yourself. So a man that is capable of providing for you the things that you can provide yourself means that you should be able to pay for this for yourself, for the both of us, if you expect me to pay for this for the both of us going forward. Because if you can't pay for yourself, then why am I paying for you? You're not on my level if you can't pay for yourself, because I can pay for us. And the hypergamy theory that men are throwing out of the window because men have to date down in order to get the right woman. If a man has to date down, then he's getting somebody and bringing that woman up to his level. There is a criteria that needs to be met by the woman that's being brought up to the level of that man, because that woman now has the obligation and responsibility to participate in bringing forth that man's success by aiding him in his agenda. So we have seen in recent times where men are now starting to say, well, let me go grab a passport and fly to another country and go and make it work. And it's more feasible to fly to another country and go make it work. And the reason why it's more feasible to do is because the women in the other countries are, one, taught with the traditions of taking care of their family and taking care of their man, and being instilled in them from past generations of mothers and wives and girlfriends that the partnership portion of dating a man is clearly highly important, which is something that's not being taught to the American women. And I'm going to say that again so that you guys can understand this. The partnership portion, the helper outer portion of the relationship with men is highly important to the women. And I've said it before here on the show, treat the women like the women can treat the men like walking stock options instead of walking ATM machines, where you feel like, you walk up there and you just get money from the man because he's got it. Instead of doing that, you invest in the man the way the man is going to financially invest in you, which makes it more. Was that a hyperlink? Either way, you invest in a man more so that the man can invest in you more. That way you would be able to benefit from the things that he is doing for you because of the things that you are doing for him. Now, in no situation do we have a scenario where the men are actually just using the women for the sake of using the women when the men are trying to get into long-term committed relationships. Now, women are going to say men do use women, and that's true. Women also use men. We have those women that are 7s and 8s that swear to God that they're 10s, and they might get more attention than most women. And those women will use what they got to get what they want from the men. And sometimes they bait the men in with sex. There's vice versa. They have some men that are in the top 1% that all the women are chasing. And those men might spend a little extra money on the woman to get that 7 or 8 or that sometimes 9. And they spend way more money than the average man is willing to produce for the same type of engagement. And those 1%ers get the woman. But just because they have that much money where they can spend this stack of cash on this woman to get this woman doesn't mean that they want the woman for the sake of a long-term relationship. They do that so that they can get the woman for the one-night stand or the weekend fling. And then after they have finished getting their money's worth out of the woman, they return the woman back to her natural environment and they move on about their day. Now, these women are not going to be wife material. And since we've already discussed that wives are wives before they get married, if you're not a wife in the girlfriend phase is a training phase to teach you how to be a wife. If you're not already performing those wifely duties in the girlfriend phase to qualify for promotion to becoming a wife, you are taught that by the man that you are dating. Now, women don't agree to that. Women prefer not to be told what to do, and they do what they want and expect the men to accept that. But that's not always the case. And the truth is that since we are in this drastic tug of war for control in relationships, while the women are not willing to accept the financial responsibility in that same relationship, because it is still the man's job to provide. Women feel like the men are not worthy if the men are not financially capable or willing to provide. We have a one-sided dynamic. And that one-sided dynamic is not rectified by any sort of balance that is being brought in by the female gender. So what are we really getting from social interaction when we have the gentlemen that are now the new alpha men? Well, one of the things that we're getting is that the standard of men is starting to increase. Men do not have to force women into engagements that they want to be in. Women do not have to be controlled into doing something that they don't want to do. Sigma men are setting the standard. They're saying, hey, you may still get everything that you want from me as a man, but it requires you to do the things that you need to do. And if you're not willing to do those things, then, this could carry on for a very long time where you're not getting what you're looking for from the other men that you're seeking, but I'm not waiting around to see if you ever change. And that's one of the things that we've talked about on the show before, me and Mr. Pibbs, where we had these debates and discussions where Mr. Pibbs tried to rationalize and validate some of the social interactions with the women. And I was like, no, bro, it's a no-go. Like, he can't tell me that it's going to be the engagements between the two of us is going to be okay when we're engaging these women and the women are walking all over the man and taking all the money out of his wallet and then moving on and going to date the next man. No man's going to say that that's good. That's a good lifestyle to have. You got simps that might say, yeah, sure, I'll sign up to that. You got some like beta men and some delta men that might, just to get some female attention, that they'll, pay for the scenario. But we brought up the rally theory on the show a long time ago, and we asked, hey, why are we in such transactional relationships where men are paying for women's attention the same way we're paying for women's attention in the adult industry. And we have to pay for the woman's attention until we find out if the woman is even worth our time. Now, I understand that the economy is hard. Um, Prices are going up in the United States, but we have to recognize that we're not supposed to be putting ourselves in compromising positions we uh, where we as men are not going to get what we're looking for out of the engagement. That is definitely by far not something that we should be trying to accomplish. We should be putting ourselves in a position where we are able to better maintain ourselves as well as everything else around us to be in a more happy environment. And what that means is that we're looking for a woman that is not going to dominate the relationship. So as men, we actually will test the scenario. When we walk up, if the woman seems overly assertive, just walk away. If we're engaging a woman and we're talking to the woman and the woman is coming up with a overly dominant position, just walk away. If we're dealing with a woman that is passive and not dominant, but not cooperative, then we just walk away. And this is before we start spending money on it. So we might start off, we're starting to see 50-50 dating where the girl pays for herself and the guy pays for himself, which doesn't really show much interest, but at least the man is not coughing out a ton of money for the woman. You get to know him over a cup of coffee, maybe a sandwich, and then you guys, try to figure out if you're worth another date. But you have to realize that as men, like, time is money, guys. We're supposed to be able to find this right woman in passing while we are working on our finances and boosting our riches, and so that when we share our riches with this woman, that there's enough to go around. The quantity of money that you spend going on dates these days, and this is one of the things that women don't pay attention to, because women don't have a problem with spending the money, because the most successful women in this country have made it off of divorce. So they had to have married a man with money so that when they leave the man who has the money, they get half of that man's money. Very little effort involved. I stand corrected. There's a lot of effort involved, because you have to put up with a man that you don't really want long enough for you to divorce that man to get all of his money. But beyond those types of women, because there are some marriages that go bad because something the man did, but beyond the relationships that went bad because they were never intending to succeed in the first place, you're looking at those relationships where if you were supportive of your man, like Florida Evans from Good Times, you're going to be with this man for the rest of his life, right? And then you're going to inherit all of whatever wealth that he has or doesn't have, such as it is. And whatever your life is going to be like after that, it's going to be the rest of your life. Well, if the men are focusing more on boosting their wealth, there's going to be more money for the man to leave you after he passes. You're going to outlive the man, because hypergamy theory is going to have women that are going to date men that are more financially successful, and men that are more financially successful are more in their middle ages, which means that you're going to have an age gap. And that age gap is going to lead to the man passing before you, which means that you're going to get to benefit from whatever wealth that he has built over his lifetime, which means that as women, it would be smarter for you to date a man with potential to be more successful, and you spend your life working on his success so that when he leaves his inheritance to you, you're successful. Not a lot of women think that way. More women feel like he should have it now so that she can live that life now. And it doesn't always go that route. But because the men are putting their foot down, because the men are now setting the standard that they are not going to participate in these negative engagements with women, where they're not going to be dealing with the push and pull of the dating game, where women are going to bait men in with sex and sex appeal, and then men are going to walk away from that particular engagement broke as fuck. I'm just going to be real. I tell men on a regular basis, I'm like, guys, we should be, especially you guys that are in your 20s, you should be following the lead of alpha men and taking your money and investing it in stocks, bonds, mutualities, doing low risk investments. Now, I actually have a show coming up in a couple of weeks where we're going to be talking about the ways that you guys can invest in low risk. And low risk means that you're going to put your money in and you're either going to gain a lot of interest or you're going to gain a little bit of interest, but you're not going to lose your principal. That's actually better for you. Not a lot of people think about that, but that is actually better for you. Now, when we start talking about putting this money into a lot more places where the money can make a lot more money for you, you have to start moving your money. You have to start really moving your money around. You really do. You really do. But if you're moving your money out of your bank accounts into the dating game, you're $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 at a time, like I told you before, could be 5% interest over a number of years. And 5% interest is a lot of money when banks are doing 0.54% in most cases. And you're getting 5% interest and you're not even risking your money on the stock market. That 5% interest every time you go on a $200+ date, you could be drawn back $10,000, $20,000 a year off of all of the dates that you've gone on in your lifetime. If you would have invested it instead, you would have become more wealthy. And with more wealth, you would be able to find a higher value woman because you're not going to be sifting around the lower class, lower grade qualities of women, and you would be able to start looking in areas with women that have a higher level of dignity and a higher level of self-respect. You're going to see that first and foremost in the way she dresses. You're going to see that in the way she carries herself. You're going to see that in her dialogue. You know, whether or not she wears artificial stuff all over her body or not doesn't change the fact that you'll be able to see that in her attitude, in her demeanor. You can see a woman with style and class that is able to come up moderately dressed and be able to cater to you out of the fact that you exist. Generosity is not one-sided. Chivalry is also not one-sided. We're just less likely to see a chivalrous woman in a masculine, feminine society, as opposed to seeing a generous man or a chivalrous man, where it is expected of men to give to women without reason. And men, soft guy, drizzle, 2024, not doing it. Men are saying, no. Men are saying we're not gonna put this here. We're not gonna do this there. We're gonna stand on our own and you know, build up our own resources, and we're gonna get ourselves to where we want to be. If you want to join me, you must follow these rules. But if you are not going to follow these rules, you will not join me. And that's really the standard, the non-negotiable expectations for behavior. And when we're standing on those non-negotiable expectations for behavior, we're now dictating terms as a modern day alpha male. And we're not the old-fashioned alpha male where we are bullying people into doing what we want. We are a modern day alpha male. We're Sigma men, because we're now setting a standard that says, well, I'll lead you, but you must follow. You must follow my instructions. I'll lead you to the promised lands. I'll lead you to safety. I'll lead you to financial security, but you must follow what I tell you to do. If you're not willing to follow what I tell you to do, then I will leave you right here. And I mean, if you're having that conversation and 200 miles away from the house, gonna be honest with you, you might not talk to one another after this, but they're gonna follow your instructions until you get them back. Because I mean, some of them don't even have the money it costs to get an Uber to get them back to where they came from. And Mr. Phibbs is like, oh, can't you get a case with that? No, you really can't. It's only against the law to drop them off in the middle of nowhere. If you take them 200 miles away from the house because you intended on taking them on a date somewhere, and then they start acting reckless, and you leave them at that restaurant, yeah, there's no harm, no foul there. You just dump them off in a public place. They can call a cab. The cost that it's going to be for that person to get themselves a ride home is going to be the slap in the face that's going to make them realize that they should probably do better. Because the first time it happens to them, they're not really going to think about it. The second or third or fifth time that it happens to them, they're probably going to not want to date too far away from their house so that they won't have to try that. And two, they're going to be on their best behavior when they go out on the date, so that even if they aren't interested in furthering the relationship, that they will prefer to respectfully end the relationship at their door and just not talk to you after that. We also have the ghosting culture that is widely seen in today's society, where people are able to ghost each other on social media, and their ghosting behavior happens in person. And when they're ghosting you in person, then when they meet you on a dating app, and we've had fans on the show come up and ask about that, like, do you remind her that she ghosted you in reality now that she's linking up with you on this dating app? No. Don't even entertain her. This isn't a situation where you should ghost her in return. This is a situation where you should not remind her that you guys have had previous engagements. Your non-negotiable expectations for behavior is that you don't want to date a girl that will disappear randomly and then show back up whenever she feels like it. Which means that if she's ghosted you in the past and you guys cross paths again, that you are not entertaining her the second time around. That there is no repeats. There are no redos. This isn't a second life. You're not going to be able to come back and do it over and do it better this time. You're not going to be given the second chance that you did not deserve from the first time. And I want to throw out a what's up to Red Void and Liberty Twitcher and Silly Emma for you guys coming out to the show from Twitch. We really appreciate you guys. Always got to give you guys a heads up. Like a what's up, actually, is the most appropriate way to put it. But dynamically speaking, it is more important for us to recognize and realize that in our social interactions with one another, that if we're not going to treat people the way we want to be treated, that we are going to cross a path where there will be a number of people that will treat us the way we don't want to be treated, because society sees how you behave, whether you believe it or not. And there are those women that would prefer to keep things on the low, and they don't want anybody to know that they're using these men from time to time. It is what it is. You don't want to date those women. You don't want to socialize with those women. Those women that don't want people to know about you, that's okay, buddy. You can just push. Because you have to think about it. Now, remember earlier in the show, I told you that, men are flying to other countries to get the women that are treating them better. In those other countries, you can, and I can name like 7 of them off the top of my head, but in those other countries, you meet up with a girl, she'll pay for the date. She'll take you to all of the fun spots. You guys will talk and get to know one another. She'll still be the feminine woman and follow your lead. If you say don't go, she won't go. If you say let's go, she will go. She'll still do the feminine roles. She'll make sure that you're compensated for. If you need something, she's got it. And this is the woman before you even determine if she's worthy. If she hasn't shown her worth already in the first hour of engagement with one another, and you guys are going to make this a habit, and then, what we got going on in the United States doesn't hold a candle to that. And when you're going out on a date and the woman is paying, and you're like, no, let's not, I'll pay. And she's, no, I got it. Like, that's not normal in America. That's not the type of behavior that we get from the people that decide to allow you to interact with them in our American engagements. And it's really crazy because women believe that they're supposed to overly sexualize themselves to attract all of this negative sexual attention. And then out of the negative sexual attention, they're supposed to find a good suitor. But if you weren't overly sexualizing yourself, you would not have as much sexual attention. And then you would only have, or primarily have, suitors approaching you. But the women are not engaging the men based on the man's behavior and the man's character. They're engaging the men based on which man offers them enough stuff for that first date. Like we had a woman on the show that was talking about a man met her in a nightclub and he gave her a $200 bracelet in order for her to go out on a first date with him. And then because the first date wasn't as lavish as drinks on the house the night before, she didn't think that was going to lead into anything. But the truth is that you should not have even been, you should not be accepting a $200 bracelet. You should not be accepting a $10 bracelet from a man that you don't know. You don't see it going anywhere. You know, if he's not replacing your bracelet that got broken because he did something, like, why would you be accepting a $200 bracelet from a man? But there's a lot of women that would say, fuck yeah, I'll take that bracelet and pawn it for $100. Pawn it for 75 and walk away. No. And when these women receive these gifts on a regular basis, they end up in that position where now they're expecting men, well, you're going to have to give me something. You're going to have to, you know, buy me something. You're going to have to take me somewhere. We've had some women that get overly attractive and then they say, oh, well, you must compliment me. And it's no. I'm still in that position. Like, you got to earn that. I'm not going to just, and it's instinctive now that men have been taught that when they see an attractive woman that they're supposed to compliment the woman's beauty. But modern day, it's like, if she's attractive, that is the last thing you want to tell her, is that she's attractive. You want to see if there's something else behind that attraction. If she's attractive, but she's got a fucked up attitude, you're not trying to compliment her beauty. You're trying to get away from that fucked up attitude. If she's reasonably attractive, but she's wasteful with your money, then you don't really want to deal with her attraction. You know, she could be good in bed to some degree, but I mean, if it cost you $500, I mean, there's a bunch of adult freelance workers that are way cheaper than that. So, I mean, there's no reason for you to really just be hooking up with this girl for the sake of sex, because if it's transactional where you're paying for it, you could get a better rate from a better looking woman. I can't say better quality woman. I can say better looking woman, because the quality is not there. The miles on an adult freelance worker is going to be excessive. It's like getting a Porsche with 200,000 miles out of 7 accidents, but still looks brand new though. That's what it is. You know, the value of it is not the same, but you're renting it all the same. And when we're dealing with social interaction where men have to rent the women in order to find a good girlfriend, in order to rent that woman as a girlfriend until they find a wife, in order for them to finance her standard of living for the rest of his life after that, men have to set higher standards. And the Sigma men and the new alpha man that is putting his foot down and saying, well, you are going to meet my non-negotiable expectations for behavior, because if you don't meet my non-negotiable expectations for behavior, you're not going to get anything out of this situation at all. You will get engagement, you will get interaction. That is what you will get. But if you are not putting in what you were expected to put in on this situation, and what you're putting in isn't monetary, what you're putting in is actionary. And if you're not putting in what you need to put in on this situation, then we're actually going to walk away from it and say, no, we're not even going to spend $1. And for those guys who are willing to stand on that principle and not spend that $1, then we end up in a position where the women have to choose between hanging out with this man with no money and no provisions until he determines that you're worth spending money on, or if the woman is going to ghost the guy and move on to a guy that'll spend a bunch of money on her but punch her in the face. And you got to find a balance between the two. A guy who will throw a bunch of money at you and punch you in the face, or a guy that will treat you like a wife, treat you, lovingly, and, somewhat put you on an idolized pedestal at the expense of your cooperation with him. That's a very big, it's a very tall ask for men, because men are going to be put in a position where they have to do that cooperation that women are not willing to do, and the women having that expectation, you know, they're starting to see a new man. They're starting to see a larger quantity of men that are really shifting the dating game. It wasn't just a trend. It wasn't just something that was going to happen for a little bit of time and then go away. It really is coming and staying and marinating in ways that we never thought possible, that men are literally saying, look, if I can't tell if you're worth it, I'm not going to pay for it until I see that it's worth it. And we're going to have to start getting some free trials, fellas. And free trial doesn't mean, one night stands and stuff. Free trials means that I'm going to have to sample your behavior. I'm going to have to see how much of a helper you really are before I start paying for these dates. I'm going to have to start seeing, like, this is going to have to turn into the Hunger Games when it comes down to, like, you got to show me how much you're willing to do to get this bag before sex starts being part of the equation. That's going to be the thing. So that's all I have for you guys today. I was actually working on a lot of videos earlier today, and now we're trying to get them uploaded. So trying to keep the momentum going. It's a somewhat of a one-man operation more often than not. So since I'm trying to keep the operation going, I have to end the show a little bit early today and try to get a lot more content up there for you guys on the YouTube platform. So I recommend that you go check it out. We're releasing about eight long and short videos every day of the week on the YouTube platform, in addition to the live show. And that it takes a lot of work to do a lot of editing. So I'm going to step away because I also got some contracts that I got to fulfill, because somebody's got to pay for the platform. But it's always appreciative if you guys are donating to the cause, a few dollars here and there, a few US dollars here and there, because I never know what country you guys are coming from. And if you ever see something that you like or hear or experience, I strongly recommend that you guys throw down those super likes, super emojis, or special thanks if you're on YouTube, or throw us a flower or some sort of coinage from either TikTok or Twitch. Show us some appreciations and value for the things that we're doing on the platform. And we would greatly appreciate you guys to swing by and see us tomorrow. So, cut tomorrow. We always got something else going on. We're gonna go ahead and walk TikTok back out of here first. Even though TikTok came in second today, we're gonna walk TikTok back out of here first. Ladies, as long as the situation doesn't make sense, I'm gonna keep asking you ladies to make it make sense. And look, Maki showed up at the last minute, but it's okay. So ladies, gonna ask you to make it make sense. And for the rest of you guys that are still here from TikTok, TikTok just left, Twitch and Twitter and YouTube, we really appreciate you guys for coming to the show. We have special things for you guys that are coming through on a regular basis, showing us love. So we really appreciate you guys for watching the show, hanging in there. If you ever have something to say on a topic, make sure that you jump in, drop something in the comment section, leave something after the show, put something in the community chat, or dive in onto the show in a live broadcast. We're here 7 days a week. So if you guys come in and you see us, get your hair and nails done. For the ladies, for the fellas, shave up something. And then when you dive in, we're able to sit here and have us an open forum discussion. And all opinions are necessary and all opinions are appreciated, no matter what country you're in. Us guys, we're all having the same thing in same different areas of the country. It's the same thing. It just has different monetary values to it. So I strongly encourage you guys to make sure that you just keep tuning in, and make sure that you guys also stick to your non-negotiable expectations for behavior. And with that being said, I want to tell you guys again, thank you for coming to the show, This and That, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. I'm your host, Sander, and you guys have a good night.